When most people think about the birth of heavy metal, the spotlight usually falls on Black Sabbath's game-changing debut in February 1970. But the story doesn't start there. Throughout the late 60s, a wave of bands on both sides of the Atlantic were already pushing their gear, and the limits of rock itself, into louder, heavier, and more aggressive territory. Some of these acts stormed the charts, others stayed cult favorites. But all of them carried the raw power, grit, and distortion that would harden into heavy metal's DNA. Every track in this video came before Sabbath's first album, proof that the seeds of the genre were already planted, buzzing, and ready to erupt. Let's dive in. Before heavy metal even had a name, this 2.5-minute blast shook the airwaves. Dave Davies's distorted power chords, famously created by slashing the speaker cone of a cheap amp, hit like nothing else on AM radio. The riff is primal, the attitude defiant, and the rawness still leaps out of the speakers nearly 6 decades later. It's proto-punk, proto-metal, and proto-every guitar kid's first jam rolled into one. In 1964, America, the Beatles were the clean-cut heartthrobs, but the Kinks were the troublemakers your parents warned you about. You Really Got Me kicked down the door for heavier, riff-based rock, influencing everyone from The Who to Van Halen. Without it, the sound of loud, dirty rock might have taken years longer to grow its teeth, and rock history would have sounded a whole lot cleaner.
Oh yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I got sleep at night. You really got me.
My generation wasn't just a song, it was a declaration of war against the establishment. Pete Townshend's slashing chords, John Entwistle's bass solo, a rare moment in pop at the time, and Keith Moon's chaotic, hurricane-like drumming combined into something dangerous and uncontainable.
Why don't you all fade away? Don't try and dig what we are.
Roger Daltrey's sneering, stuttering vocal made it even more iconic, embodying frustration and youthful rebellion. While rooted in the British mod scene, its message hit home in the States, where Vietnam protests and the counterculture were already heating up. The song's closing minute descends into an explosive jam, as if the band were trying to burn the track into rock history. By the time Daltrey growls, "Hope I die before I get old," the fuse has already been lit, one that would set off countless bands to play faster, louder, and with more bite.
Hope I die before I get old.
It's slow, heavy, hypnotic. Sunshine of Your Love was Cream at their most dangerous. That iconic descending riff from Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton's warm yet biting guitar tone, and Ginger Baker pounding the toms like ceremonial war drums. The song broke through on US radio, showing that rock could be just as powerful when played at half speed. What made this track heavy wasn't speed or volume, but the sheer weight of that groove. It was the blues turned molten, dripping into the foundation of hard rock and metal. Clapton's solo, loose, lyrical, and perfectly measured, still feels like a lazy, beautiful punch to the gut. In 1967, Cream proved that heaviness could come not from chaos, but from control and precision. The Supremes' Motown hit was pure pop sugar, but Vanilla Fudge slowed it to a crawl, drenched it in Hammond organ, and gave it a psychedelic, almost doom-like weight. Tim Bogart's bass rumbled like an earthquake, and Carmine Appis's drumming added dramatic flair, while echo-drenched vocals created a tense, suspended atmosphere. Their version of You Keep Me Hangin' On challenged American radio in 1967, but FM stations embraced its 5-minute, slow-motion explosion. The track proved that heaviness wasn't just distortion or volume. It was about mood, space, and the sense that something massive was lurking beneath the surface, quietly shaping early metal and hard rock. Purple Haze is the sound of a door swinging wide into another dimension. That opening riff, instantly recognizable, is like a psychedelic fanfare announcing Hendrix's arrival as a force of nature. Recorded in London but unleashed globally, it blurred the line between blues, rock, and something entirely new. Mitch Mitchell's jazz-influenced drumming and Noel Redding's steady bass provided the perfect launchpad, while Hendrix bent notes, warped tones, and redefined what a guitar could say.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
For American listeners in '67, this wasn't just music. It was an experience. The layered feedback, surreal lyrics, and mind-expanding guitar work made it a trip you could take without leaving your bedroom. In under 3 minutes, Hendrix took rock somewhere it had never been, planting seeds that would grow into both psychedelic rock and the heavy metal storm on the horizon. It's the song that gave us the phrase heavy metal, literally. John Kay's gritty vocal rides over a roaring biker anthem built for the open road. That chugging guitar and organ combo feels like a Harley engine under your feet, propelling the song forward with unshakable momentum.
Looking for adventure and whatever comes our way.
Born to be Wild wasn't just a hit. It became an American cultural landmark, immortalized in Easy Rider and countless road trip playlists.
Yeah, I gotta go make it happen. Take the world in a loving embrace.
Even though the heavy metal thunder lyric was meant to describe motorcycles, the phrase now feels prophetic, foreshadowing the birth of a genre that would soon define rock's heaviest sounds.
Born to be wild.
In 1968, Steppenwolf proved that rock could be both commercially successful and sonically ferocious, a template many heavier acts would follow.
Lotta got to raise a fuss, Lotta got to raise a holler.
Imagine taking a polite rockabilly number and blasting it through speakers so loud they rattle your teeth. That's Blue Cheer's Summertime Blues. These San Francisco wild men took Eddie Cochran's 1958 classic, drowned it in fuzz, and cranked the volume to levels that left engineers shaking their heads. It's messy, it's raw, and it's glorious.
Well, my mama, papa told me, son, you got to make some money.
The drums pound like demolition equipment. The bass shakes the floorboards, and the guitar is pure chaos. In 1968 America, nothing sounded heavier or more unhinged. Blue Cheer didn't just turn it up, they obliterated the knobs. Many fans and critics point to this single as the true starting gun for heavy metal's sonic assault, years before Sabbath's debut.
Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do. Lord, there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
Mandrake Root hits like a storm from the very first riff. Ritchie Blackmore's guitar cuts through the mix with a dark, biting edge, while John Lord's organ swells thick and ominous, giving the track a weight far beyond anything on their earlier pop hit, Hush.
I got a Mandrake root, I feel it in my brain.
The rhythm section locks into a groove that's heavy and relentless, pushing the boundaries of late 60s hard rock into proto-metal territory. Live versions stretch the track into extended solos, letting the band explore tension and release in real time, creating moments that feel both chaotic and controlled. With its combination of dark riffs, pounding rhythms, and blistering solos, Mandrake Root captures Deep Purple at the forefront of early heavy music, laying groundwork that would influence metal for decades to come. 17 minutes. One hypnotic riff. A cathedral of psychedelic sound. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida is Iron Butterfly's masterpiece. A slow-burning epic that somehow became a hit in its shortened single version.
In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, baby. Don't you know that
Doug Ingles' organ lays down an ominous foundation. Eric Brand's guitar slices through with fuzzed-out menace, and Ron Bushy's drum solo turns into a ritual. In its full form, the track was made for FM radio and smoke-filled rooms, a journey that was as much about atmosphere as it was about volume. It was proof that rock could be immersive and dangerous, drawing listeners into a trance. This wasn't just proto-metal, it was proto-doom, proto-prog, and a milestone in heavy rock's evolution. A wild, chaotic guitar riff crashes in like a storm, setting the tone for Helter Skelter. The Beatles pushed themselves to the edge with this track, layering distorted guitars, pounding drums, and frantic vocals that seem on the verge of collapse. Paul McCartney and John Lennon scream and shout with raw intensity, creating a sense of controlled chaos that was unheard of in pop music at the time. The song's relentless energy and heavy, aggressive sound broke the rules of conventional rock, laying the groundwork for bands that wanted to explore louder, grittier, and more abrasive tones.
When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide, and I stop and I turn and I go for a ride.
Helter Skelter isn't just hard rock. It's a proto-metal manifesto, delivering a sonic punch that would inspire heavy riffs and intense performances throughout the 1970s. Recorded live in Detroit, Kick Out the Jams captured the MC5's raw, political, high-voltage energy in its purest form. Wayne Kramer and Fred Sonic Smith's guitars formed a wall of distortion and feedback, while Rob Tyner's voice roared like a call to arms.
I know how you want it, how quick you tight. Girls can't stand it when you do it right. Let me up on the stand. Let me kick out the can.
The rhythm section hit with the force of a street protest, relentless and loud. The infamous opening rally cry, controversial even now, made sure you knew this wasn't background music. It was a manifesto.
Gotta kick 'em.
In the US, it became an underground classic, bridging the gap between hard rock, proto-metal, and the punk explosion a decade later. MC5 weren't just playing songs, they were starting fires. Nearly a decade later, Blue Oyster Cult would pay homage with a live cover on Some Enchanted Evening, taken at an almost hardcore punk speed, but with none of the usual loss of dynamics. Blue Oyster Cult transformed the raw garage punk energy of the original into a heavier, riff-driven assault. Guitars chunkier, vocals darker, and rhythm section tighter, showing how the proto-metal spirit could reframe a Detroit classic without losing its rebellious edge. More than half a century on, Kick Out the Jams still crackles with the urgency of its time. A raw, unfiltered blast that set the stage for generations of hard rock, metal, and punk to come. One grinding riff, a single, unchanging piano note. Iggy Pop's detached, dangerous drawl cuts through like a razor. I Wanna Be Your Dog takes minimalism and sharpens it into a weapon. The Stooges weren't concerned with virtuosity. They were chasing pure impact, and every element hits with relentless intensity, creating a sense of chaos that lingers long after the song ends.
Come on! Well, come on! Shit!
In 1969 America, this stripped-down three-chord assault was shocking in its simplicity and menace. It's proto-punk, proto-metal, and pure nerve. For all its bluntness, the track carries a dark weight that bands from Black Sabbath to Nirvana would later channel. Sometimes heaviness isn't about speed or complexity. It's about attitude and raw emotion. And on this track, the Stooges had that in spades.
Now I wanna be a dog.
Before the title Paranoid became iconic with Black Sabbath, Grand Funk Railroad was already using it for a muscular, blues-driven rocker that hit with raw power. Mark Farner's guitar tone is thick, aggressive, and full of bite, while Mel Shaker's bass thunders like a locomotive driving through the room. Don Brewer's drumming is relentless, locking the rhythm into an unstoppable groove that gives the track a sense of urgency and drive. Grand Funk was one of the first American bands to take the power trio format and push it into heavier, grittier territory. And on Paranoid, they sound raw, urgent, and unfiltered. A perfect snapshot of a band connecting directly with blue-collar America. Though the group often explored boogie and funk grooves, this track reveals their flirtation with the heavier, more aggressive rock sound that would come to define the 1970s. The energy, attitude, and sheer sonic weight make it a proto-metal milestone in its own right. From the opening riff, I'm Going Home hits like a freight train, with Alvin Lee's blazing guitar solo driving the track forward at breakneck speed. The rhythm section pounds relentlessly, locking bass and drums into a groove that's both tight and explosive, giving the song a raw, high-octane power.
Oh, baby, baby.
Lee's guitar work is technically dazzling yet fiercely aggressive, perfectly balancing precision and chaos. The energy never lets up, creating a wall of sound that feels physically heavy while remaining rooted in blues rock. This track perfectly captures the proto-metal spirit of the late 60s, with sheer intensity and guitar-driven force that would inspire the genre's pioneers. When the opening riff of Whole Lotta Love first hit US radio, it was like a thunderclap shaking the airwaves. Jimmy Page's guitar tone was razor-sharp, cutting through the mix with a raw, metallic edge, while Robert Plant's wail dripped with unfiltered lust, danger, and urgency. John Paul Jones's bass and John Bonham's drums locked into a groove that was both primal and impossibly tight, creating a foundation that felt unstoppable. The psychedelic middle section, all swirling echoes, moans, and experimental sounds, sent listeners spinning, pulling them into a hypnotic whirlwind before the iconic riff returned with the force of a tidal wave. In America, this track didn't just establish Zeppelin as a promising British import, it catapulted them into the realm of stadium-conquering giants. Whole Lotta Love wasn't just rock anymore. It was a physical force, An earthquake you could feel in your chest. A perfect storm of groove, tension, and raw sonic power that would influence generations of hard rock and metal musicians to come. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop your favorite proto-metal tracks in the comments, or tell me which ones you think I missed. Until next time, keep it loud.